Hello and welcome to another episode of Immigration Law Made Easy. I'm your host, Attorney Hillary Walsh, and I'm going to take you today through the relatively simple and straightforward process of what is the timeline of a VAWA case. So if you're listening to this as a podcast, please know that I also have this available for you on YouTube so you can see what I'm talking about. I like to teach, show, and talk. But if you're just listening, no worries. I'm going to explain it to you just fine. But what I've got in front of me right now is a 5-step timeline for how a VAWA case is processed from the beginning all the way to when you get your approval. God willing, you get your approval. So let's talk through the first step. First is you have to submit everything together, including all your evidence and, show that you're basically not only eligible, but you should be granted VAWA. That's going to include things like your I-360. If you have an attorney, then your attorney's G-28 would obviously go with that. And then you will also include your statement and any other evidence of extreme cruelty or battery. If your extreme cruelty or battery that qualifies you for VAWA is based on a marriage, you're going to want to show the bona fides, like the realness of your marriage. So that can be things like a record of marriage. It can be the fact that you married a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident, depending on what your situation is. It's going to be all of the things essentially that you have to submit when you file your VAWA. This podcast is not specific for all of those things. I have lots of other recordings on what to submit for VAWA cases earlier in our Immigration Law Made Easy podcast. Go check those out. This is really about the timeline. So let's say you have everything ready and you file it. You send it to USCIS. By the way, there's no filing fee, so you don't have to worry about your filing fee. You do need to include your couple of passport photos, all of that. So you send it in. What happens next? Next is, I would say within 2 weeks to a month, sometimes upwards of 6 weeks, but definitely don't wait longer than 6 weeks. You're going to get notices in the mail from USCIS. And they're just basically going to say, we've received your case. This is your receipt that you filed it. Just like when you go to the grocery store, they give you a receipt that you've paid for your groceries before you leave, so no one thinks you're stealing anything. USCIS gives you a receipt to say that you gave me your packet. Now you can track your case with us, and you can do that online. And then if you have questions or concerns about it, you can call in and you have the tracking number, the processing information for it, right? Because you've got your receipt notice number. That's your receipt. You get that in the mail 2 to 6 weeks after you file everything with USCIS. After that, you just got to wait. Nothing will really happen for a little while. You will eventually get a prima facie determination. The prima facie determination allows you, and prima facie, just as a side note, is a Latin word. I am from Kansas, and so we speak only the English, and it's not probably very good, even at that. But prima facie, some people say prima facie. I don't think either person is right or wrong because I don't speak Latin. But basically what prima facie means is on its face, at the first glance of it, I like that I'm touching my face because that helps. It means that when I look at this at first glance, your case is approvable. It doesn't mean that it is going to be approved, but it's kind of the first glance. It passes the initial sniff test where we can check all the boxes that everything that you need to say and prove is here. And whether or not it's going to be approved, we'll push that down the line onto the next person. Once you get that prima facie determination, you get that in the mail, usually 4 to 6 months after you file. So you file, you wait 4 to 6 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks for the notice, the receipt notice, and then you're going to get your prima facie determination. You will soon after that get a biometrics notice because now USCIS needs to take your fingerprint and your photo. And sometimes these things, can come in different orders, but all of this is going to happen around the 4 to 6 month point. You'll start to kind of watch the mail around that point, okay? Because you'll go in and get your fingerprints and your photo done because around the 8 to 10 month point is when you're going to get your work permit if you filed your VAWA with a green card petition. If you just filed the I-360 by itself, no green card, included, no I-485 included, then you're not going to get anything again until you either get a request for evidence or you get an approval. You might get in a couple of more prima facie determination renewals, depending on how long the process takes for you. But just as a rule of thumb, you're basically just going to get those couple of pieces of mail, your receipt notice, your prima facie determination, and eventually your biometrics notice. And then eventually the fourth document that you'll get is going to be your approval, God willing, or your request for evidence where they're asking you for more information. But there's just not a whole lot in that 3-year wait that it takes USCIS to adjudicate this, because you're going to wait about 3 years from the time you mail it in to the time that you get it. It's going to be about 3 years. But there's not a whole lot in there to do other than just wait it out. The prima facie determination is nice because in some states, it will allow you to get your driver's license while you wait. It will allow you to access certain benefits. It just really just depends on your state and what benefits are available to you. But overall, those are the kind of 5 steps. First, you submit everything. Second, you wait a little while to get your receipt notices. Third, you get your prima facie determination and eventually your biometrics notice. So you go get your fingerprints and photo taken. And then you get either a request for evidence or you get an approval or a denial in the mail. You're going to get almost certainly a request for evidence before you get a denial. So don't ever expect that you're going to open the mail and just boom, you're going to get a denial out of nowhere. That would be very surprising. It would be very surprising and frankly, I believe almost unlikely. I got to talk like a lawyer right now because I don't want to make any sweeping statements, but we get requests for evidence pretty regularly. It's not a bad thing. So when you get it, you're going to freak out and feel like I have to prove my whole case all over again. And that might be true. You may have to, add things to your declaration to explain things more, provide more evidence that you cohabitated, that you lived with your abuser. Like any of those things could happen. But when you get a request for evidence, it's actually a good thing because USCIS is telling you exactly what they need in order for you to win your case. So every time I get a request for evidence, you read through it and you're like, crap, this is one heck of an RFE. You take a breath and then you think, you know what? It's all good. It's all good. I got this because I can prove each of these things and I'm going to be able to do it. So if you get an RFE, don't worry about it. And then last but not least is you get a decision about 36 months after you file. And that's a good thing. It sucks. You have to wait so long in order to get to the finish line. But at the same time, you have a pretty predictable time frame. 36 to 40 months is when I would expect it. And of course, this is recorded in June 2024. Processing times change, so you should check the USCIS website in order to figure out exactly what the normal processing time is. At the time of recording, it's around 36 to 40 months. Friends, that's all I have for you today. I hope this is helpful and that you see there's not a whole lot when you're waiting for your I-360 to be adjudicated. I will say that if you file an I-360 along with your I-485, if those are the two things that you have pending, you're going to have a little bit more mail come because you're going to, in theory, you filed your I-485, you file your I-765 requesting your work permit, and possibly even an I-131, which would allow you to travel while your green card and your VAWA are pending. You're going to get notices for all of those things as well. You're going to get hopefully approvals for all of those things while you're waiting for your I-360 and for your I-485 to be approved. And then once it is approved, once your I-360 is approved, then it starts the process for your green card getting adjudicated. So you kind of have this basic framework for you got to wait about 3 years. And then after that, you've got to wait sometimes 4, 6, 8, 10 months for your green card to be finally processed. And one of the really good signs that your green card is about to get approved is USCIS will send you a request for evidence asking for your medical exam if you haven't already sent that in, because then you'll send in the medical exam and then God willing again, you get an approval for your green card. I hope this has been helpful for you. And if you need any help, please reach out to us at New Frontier Immigration Law. We specialize in VAWA cases. They are some of my favorite cases to do, just because I have such a heart for people who have complicated families. I come from a complicated family. Maybe you do too. And if so, just know that, you're in good company and that New Frontier Immigration Law is here to help you. Thanks, my friend. Share this with a friend if you think this would be helpful for them. Talk to you soon.